Hey everyone, welcome to the KE Report and a company update from Graphene Manufacturing Group, chatting with the founder and CEO, Craig Nicol. Thank you everybody for sending in your questions. I can't believe how many questions I've gotten just in the last month since last having Craig on. Everything from questions on the three divisions within the company, the batteries, the THERMAL-XR, and the G Lubricant, as well as some more market news and market moves that a lot of you are wondering about. So Craig is going to address as much of the questions as we can get to, and please keep on sending them in to me. Graphene Manufacturing Group is traded on the TSX Venture Exchange under the symbol GMG and on the OTCQX under the symbol GMGMF. Craig, let's start off the market front here. There's been a lot of graphene adjacent companies that have moved share price wise, that have seemed to really be marketing out there and have caught some attention. Want to get your thought on this. What's happening in the graphene market here, not just with GMG, but with all these other companies I'm hearing a lot more about now?
Yeah, great. Thanks to be back. Good to be back on, Corey. Yeah, the graphene market is growing, which is great. Interested in it is also growing. You know, that we really are interested in getting the industry understood more and the future of it, and therefore the potential of it is going to be more understood as well broadly, and therefore everyone wins. So we're really keen to see, success come through in the industry in any way. GMG is obviously it's grown into many different segments, as you just discussed. We make graphene from natural gas, a very low cost scalable project. We can keep building, and we'll keep building. We also make a graphene lubricant additive, which, has a really solid outcome, and that patent's almost through. We have our thermal-XR coating, which is another way of enhancing our graphene's ability to move heat, and that's solidly into sales and many different, large companies, and we'll be shortly coming out with our palletized products for distribution around the world. And then we have our battery, which is a world-leading aluminium-ion battery. We're basically the world leaders in aluminium-ion technology, which, is the very competitive next-gen tech to lithium. And then we have our Super G, which is the additive for lithium-ion batteries, which is being born out of our use in an aluminium-ion battery. And then we have our burgeoning services industry, a business which is using our technology know-how to coat air conditioning systems, and that's definitely something to think about. So we actually have, 5 solid different businesses that all rotate and work together based off our solid knowledge of our graphene. So when I see another business that has some, basically just a graphene production facility that they're talking about, I'm happy to see it. It's good to have a competitor if their quality is where it needs to be for all these applications that we work on. But I do see them as, not exactly a fit compared to what we are doing. And I think that'll become quite obvious over the next year as our sales build and we start to see the ability for us to take margin in massive applications in markets that, you just can't do if you're a bulk powder supplier. Bulk powder for graphene is, in the end, a very difficult market to sell product into. It relies on an enormous amount of customer knowledge, which just isn't there in general. And that's why we've gone into these very high margin products, which are all about patent and production already, in the swing. So in sales and distribution models. So yeah, whilst there are ones out there that can actually make graphene from a gas, I think we'll start to see that differentiation between what we do and what they do very, very clearly very soon.
So Craig, make sense of this for me. I understand your products are really what you're taking to market, but it does sound like a lot of these other companies are talking about the quality of their graphene, how they make their graphene. What I'm hearing from you is it's going to be more about the products that you can bring to market rather than how you produce this graphene. So how should we view this whole concept of quality of graphene if it's sounding like more about the end product? Make sense of that for me, please.
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So, we sit with customers, very, very large companies. I'm obviously under NDA, which I'd love to be able to say, but I can't. And they don't care about the quality of the graphene. They care about the quality of the end product. And The quality of the graphene is, in the end, how well does it do what it's supposed to do in the end product? And I can tell you, absolutely, hand on my heart, you need different graphenes for different products, for different outcomes. And that's what we've worked out, and that's what we're scaling now. And that's what we can see in our products in the end application, and that's what our customers are buying our products for, or working with us, or testing us on, or proposing to work with us in different ways around the world. They're not caring about the black powder, they care about the solution. And it's a really interesting, progress we've had over the last few months. We're working on in terms of, how much do we need to get to where a customer can actually buy a product very easily. And what we're now doing, and we're about to launch 14 language labels for our products. And it's amazing the impact that can have for different companies when they can see their own language on the label of the product. So, that's kind of the detail that we need to get to have bulk, really large sales. And that's what we're working on right now. So black powder, yep, it does some good stuff. If it's good for different applications, it then has to be understood how it works in the application that they want to work with. And then they've got to go around all the different patents, and then they've got to scale. And then they've got to get it into the place where customers can say, yeah, I want that, which is an enormous amount of work, which is what we've basically been doing over the last 9 years now.
Now, that whole patent concept, a few questions came in on that because some of these other companies, different ways of producing graphene, and GMG's graphene manufacturing process, you call it proprietary, it's not patented. Will that matter in the long run?
Look, I think it will matter once the products are there and the playing field is understood. We expect to switch on mid next year the lowest cost, largest scale production plant for graphene there ever was. And we've announced that for a bit over $2.5 million, a 10-ton reactor for basically natural gas to graphene. So, we are also pushing that curve on production costs, on capital efficiency. So we're not necessarily worried or concerned about that. We're pushing where we need to see the quality and the production volume together matched. You can't have, 100 tons of the wrong quality of graphene. It just doesn't work that way. And I think there are thousands of tons of production capacity in China of graphene that have probably all but been, demolished now because they all happened about 10 years ago, and it was massive production capacity of product that nobody wanted. So we've been very careful to scale on products in quality that are connected to customer wants and needs markets. And that's why we are where we are. And that's why, it's taken 9 years, and it's not anything that we can, you can't skip things in this space. You end up, really regretting it. So there really are no fast tracks. You just got to go through it, and then you got to get the approvals. So yeah, I think the production quality will be at scale, will eventually be when this is a very, very large market, will be very important, and we aim to be in the top quartile for that space. But we also have, and we make no qualms about the fact that we can go buy lower quality graphene if we need to be able to push, maybe some other products that are actually meeting quality into our solutions as well. So we'll be able to play the industry that way if we need to. And, so we're not too worried about other competitors in this space in terms of graphene production at all.
So let's talk about your current production then. You're, as you said, currently Gen 1 graphene production unit. You're looking to have the Gen 2 unit in production by June of next year. I had someone run some numbers and say just how much graphene that could produce, how much that would filter into G Lubricant or the THERMAL-XR units. The question comes up that if you had, let's say, a big OEM come and want to sign a large order, who knows how much that order would be for, but let's say a significant order, would you be able to fill that order in the next year, the next 2 years, with just the Gen 2 unit?
I think the Gen 2 will just be the first of many of its type, and we'll probably locate them in North America, probably America, maybe, and or Canada. the production of 10 ton is an enormous amount of graphene per annum. You're really talking an enormous amounts of volume for liquids that need very little percentage-wise graphene. But it will be a very, I guess, module-like production basis, so we can then go put that somewhere else in the world, and then we'll be able to put the downstream mixing plants on that as well. So, there's significant revenues that the plant could switch on. You're talking well over $100 million per annum in terms of your revenue capacity, and that's come from all our ability to put it into a downstream product and sell that at scale.
Okay. Thanks for addressing those questions. Let's move on to a couple other areas. Batteries. When it comes to batteries, I always get questions on when you're going to release some more data on this aluminum ion battery. Somebody was asking if recent data will include volumetric energy density. That seems to be one of the key points for EV and other applications like space and aviation. Is this going to be a part of the data, and what else should we be expecting in the next data release?
Yeah, it's a great question. And, I've just come off the battery call. We are progressing well. We just keep pushing through electrical optimization of this brand new, this brand new technology. I think that's what the next press release should be about. It should include energy density. It should include rate tolerance. So its ability to charge at 10C is in 5 minutes and faster. And this is a cell, right? So this is not a battery pack, which is using battery management systems to do different things. This is actually just one cell, which is very difficult to see where there's another competitive product like it in the market already. So yeah, that is all what we're aiming to do. We would love to come to market as soon as possible we can, but we will do it only after we've validated any work, that you cannot come, obviously, discuss or share information that has not been 100% taken through to the or validation and verification. That is a lot easier now because we're working with the BIC Indiana, and their CEO was over here working through a whole bunch of stuff with us this week. And we are working with them on a daily basis on making cells and doing work with them. So there's a whole lot of potential to kind of fast track, some of the work we're doing, because we've got now two battery development teams basically doing this work at the same time. We're doing that because we're getting closer to such an announcement, because we can work through optimizing and converging into, the final where we want to do for launch of the first product. So, whilst I haven't said you a date and time when we're going to do a press release, things are looking better than they ever have. And, we're really focusing on pushing out a press release, as soon as we can in this area.
Okay. I would have asked you about time, but that's fine. We'll wait for that news release. What about the relationship with Rio Tinto as well? How this battery is developing? You keep mentioning BIC, but how's that relationship with Rio Tinto?
Yeah, look, there's, for all intents and purposes, the relationship is on foot. There's a number of things we're working with them on different products, and as per previous announcements, and we continue to maintain them as core focus of our battery development. Their B2B requirements for their battery, a kind of a nascent market that's out there that kind of doesn't believe that you can do fast charging energy dense batteries, and that's what we're focused on. So leading, our battery team to focus on their requirements is still core to our battery development, and our ability to then, have multiple other companies that have come forward after that in the same space is also, core to what we're doing. But Rio Tinto's relationship is quite strong, contracts on foot, and we engage with them very often.
Okay, let's move over to the THERMAL-XR division. Somebody just asked very directly here, when can we as shareholders expect some of these trials at all the different companies you mentioned that you're working with that are testing out the THERMAL-XR? When can we expect some of this to convert to some sort of revenue, some sort of sales? Or on the back end of that, is this all EPA restricted?
Yeah, great question. So what we've worked out is that there's a lot of manufacturers out there who are trying to work with us and, under NDA and such things. And, they've got a development timeline, which is often not, where we want to see in terms of our company and our shareholders. So that's okay. That's just what it is. We have another route to market, which has been brewing for some time, which is put it into small packs, which is really what we've been focusing on the last 2 months. Has been doing an enormous amount of work to launch pallets of our product. That's allowing distributors globally to be able to resell. So this means barcodes, this means packs and cartons and inner cartons and outer cartons and pallets and having 3PLs so that we can launch this and distribute it. And so that's been the effort of our focus. It's been, these large companies are still working with us. The volumes that they can drive will, in my mind, will be the most significant, but that's normal. Large commercial relationships can often drive volumes in large manufacturers, but these distribution deals we believe will enable us to get large revenue fast, whilst these large companies are doing their work on due diligence on potentially adopting us, in a manufacturing plant somewhere around the world. So we aim to come out that shortly. There's a lot of good work being done there. It's very exciting. When we talk about our products, these palletized products that we're working on to enable every person in the world to basically buy through some distributor, it really gets people excited, and the customers are very keen, and it's brought a lot of new opportunities very quickly out, and we haven't even launched them yet. We aim to do that very quickly, so you should see a lot of that coming out shortly. It's off the back of the glubricant.com sales, and then we'll certainly have a THERMAL-XR website, which enables people to do single packs, but we need distribution, which is all around palletized product, which is all about repeatability and having, I guess, what we call 3PLs, which are, third-party logistics providers to organize that for us as well. So that's our focus. We'll find out, you'll be able to, talk to that in detail in a very short period of time, so that we can then get our products out there and get good significant revenues, and then the big guys can come in when they've seen a bit less risk because it's been market adopted more broadly.
That's what I was going to ask you about. What forces these big companies, even these OEMs, to lock in a contract and say, yes, we're good with whatever we've tested? Does it really come down to market acceptance? Is that why you're going to market with some smaller products? Because it almost sounds like if other people, individuals, are saying, hey, this works, then maybe these big companies will move faster?
Yeah, I think that's there. The revenue we're going to be seeing, in our view, is going to be considerable as well, and faster, right? Because you can get faster moving distributors, and you can really start to see some channels that'll open up. Direct supply to companies is difficult with a new innovative product. It's really best in the end to get into mainstream distribution channels. And that's certainly, what enables that is having a very simple ordered palletized barcoded products that people can buy in bulk. But there's 9,000 of them on a pallet, for instance. That's where we can get to. And then I think the big companies will start to see, that this has kind of got this acceptance. Also, just they will, highly risk mitigation. Often their best alternative is just do nothing, which, sometimes is hard to compete with. Yeah, I mean, I've been in there, right? I've been with big company work and decision teams, and oftentimes it's just best not to do anything for them. And they just keep doing what they're doing, and they need to go through the risk. The risk of all the pain needs to be less with our product than not doing something. And so we need to create a bit of a groundswell, and they need to do as much testing and know that the competitive product is not, they might try to do some of their own, work, and they often just don't get anywhere near our performance because we've just spent years doing this. And then they've got to, go through commercial evaluations and risk analysis, and, there's a bit in it. So I appreciate all that. But, in the end of the day, we're here for our shareholders, so we've got to push on. That's why we're pushing out these small pack and pallets. And I think the revenues will be quite exciting and near term.
Okay, I like that idea. Get this into market. When do you think you would have these pallets ready? When could we see more of that push into market, not so much with the big companies, but on an individual side?
Yeah, so we're working feverishly on this. You just can't imagine how difficult it is, though, to get, to be able to say that there's 9,000 little bottles of G lubricant on one pallet, perfectly wrapped with all the right barcodes in 14 languages and all the right safety data sheets. Obviously, people do it all the time. It's just that's the process we're working on now. We're well before the end of the year. In the next couple of months, that should all be listed. It should all be out there, and it's potential for immediate sales of significant value.
All right, Craig, another question. I always ask you this. EPA progress. What can you tell us on that front?
No negative news, all seemingly going through process type news. We're still holding December as kind of the latest. We could, see that turn on. Everything looking good for, American market adoption in terms of there's been a build up of demand whilst we're waiting for the EPA. The kind of patents are progressing well there as well. So it's good. It would have been great if it was 2 years ago, but it's not. So we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're pushing through, and we should see us. Well, we really do look to see some initial volumes launch before the end of the year, which will obviously open up the revenues for us as well.
Okay, one other on this TXR division, really off topic here, but I found it very interesting, is that apparently recently your head of sales transitioned from GMG's head of sales to start up a TXR application company. Any insights on what these applications could be, what the potential is, and why he made this move?
Yeah, so we've got as we said on a press release not too long ago, we've created a new sales team, and they've come with a distribution type sales background, many of them with decades of knowledge, and we're building that team around the world. And that team is very much focused on moving product in pallets. In the meantime, we still have a lot of companies who want to actually get our coating service. So all the way through to spraying it on their large air conditioners. Generally, it's refrigeration, where air conditioning or coating is really needed to extend asset life and increase performance. So we made a move for our chief, basically, service manager, who was also pushing the sales in the space and helping with large OEMs to basically to build out a service business. And he, basically still works for GMG, but it gives him the ability to do and go and win jobs himself. So it's a bit of a growth of the business. You've got to grow the products, the market, the finance, and the team. And we still hold he basically still works every day at our business, but it enables him to get out there and do what he loves, which is is coating our products on the air conditioners. He's worked with me all over the world and still will on some of the large OEMs. And we'll also work on delivering, local projects, which are building in demand.
Okay, let's move over to G Lubricants then. Quick question. Has anyone or any company challenged the pending lubricant patent?
No, but we don't like to talk about it until it's fully and final. So yes, no challenges so far to what I know, to what we know. Yeah.
Any updates on timing? Can the G lubricant fit into the TXR patent process or EPA process, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's just a bit later than the THERMAL-XR patent process. And, I think you'll see them both go through in my mind. There's nothing like it in the world than what we do. So such low dosages and high fuel efficiencies. So they're tracking separately. And, that's done intentionally. So each country, we want to put that product patent in place. We'll protect it.
Now, any updates on the sales from the G Lubricant website as well? Have you sold anything? What's that looking like?
Yeah, look, it's building because our costs are not that significant. I think we're about 2 cents earnings per share loss. So because we're not that significant costs, I have got to hope that we could get, cash flow positive from this, but just single revenue, just from single packs. That's there. We're not there yet. It's growing. It's organic. We are doing a lot of advertising. We're online and in different kind of media, radio and newspaper and magazines. It is getting the sales from that. We're getting great performance. I think we've got 5 stars review on our products performance so far from those customers. So some of them are getting great stories of 20% fuel saving immediately. So that's all feedback that we can use to show that our product's going well. And when we talk to big companies who want to look at distribution, we can refer that to them. So, whilst I would love to see this kind of just power through revenues and us be shipping out an enormous amount of boxes every day, it's not there yet. But there is a potential for that because it's a global delivery mechanism and sale price. But it does also show great feedback for our customers who can see that, it does work and people want to buy it. We're genuinely quite a low priced product compared to our competitors. There are some out there that kind of talk about 2, 3, 4%, but they don't really have it documented like we do. But so when we're saying 10%, we're a complete outlier compared to others. But our pricing is genuinely, if anything, a bit lower than theirs. So that's made us realize that we can push it a bit higher in terms of pricing. But yeah, that's definitely, all good things are going there. Would I love to see it faster? Yes, absolutely. But it is good progress to get this sold and being able to get good feedback on the sales.
Okay. Yeah, Craig, I think everybody would like to see it move even faster, but that's why we keep having these calls every month. A few more corporate questions. One being the Australian government. They have a $500 million battery breakthrough initiative. It is now open to companies like yours, it sounds like, as of August. So this month, it said that the eligibility requires you to demonstrate a technology readiness level of 6 or higher. Corporate presentation that you had back in May said that you're at a level 4. What can you tell us about this potential application and your technology readiness level, please?
Yeah, so we're at a 4 still with that battery, and as per press releases, that's correct. We're still there. 4 is the hard yards. That's where you start to finalize all your chemical and get the performance data done. And 5 with us should be faster than 6, 7, 8 because we're using existing equipment and it should be faster. Where 5, 6, 7, 8 are difficult with things like your solid state batteries. So they've got a completely different process to manufacture. So we're doing our hard yards now, and then we should be quite fast compared to other new technologies that are coming out because our easier manufacture. So we probably couldn't apply for those types of, anything in that space. We're obviously working very heavily with the BIC in Indiana. So, that is clearly a very important relationship for us. And we don't need a battery plant for our battery right now because we are working with the BIC. So the real space we could use it is in Super G plant upgrade because that is a cathode or electrode material plant. So that is a space where we could look at that, and that's arguably kind of 5 or 6 in terms of readiness level. But we'll work through that. All of these kind of grants, they come with an enormous number of strings attached, and you've got to work out whether those strings are better than on market opportunities, and then timeliness of them as well. It's always very important to understand as well. So, but yeah, we're certainly looking at that for kind of the Super G outcome, which we're actually in the market of growing that, in the focus of growing that right now as well.
Craig, what about the uplift to U.S. exchanges? Is that still scheduled for early next year?
Yeah, look, I really love to say it's at the end of this year, but it's probably going to be early next year. We've still got a number of people saying it's still possible for this year. Look, it's been quite a good year for IPOs in America. I think, arguably it's been one of the better years for quite some time. So, it feels like a good time. America, is going to be our, rightful end home for investment as well as our operations, as we've said for some time. We have half our board in America, and that's, where we see, the people being attracted to us and us being attracted to them in a whole range of reasons. So, it all makes sense, and I think we'll keep focused on pushing that out. We should have something come out on that shortly to show, we're focused on, we're now on track to uplist in America. Yeah, so when that comes through, we'll definitely announce.
All right, final question then. The most recent news, your bought deal financing recently upsized to $8 million. What's the strategy around this? Why are you doing a bought deal now? What does the money need to go towards?
Yeah, so we had no plans for this. We were just offered this. Port deals are few and far between. It shows the market, I guess, confidence enough, which, it's good to see that market come back. The last port deal we had, it was there as well, Benton led, and now this one is Red Cloud with Red Cloud, and this one's led by Red Cloud. It provides us with growth capital for building out palletized stock, really. That's what it does. It wasn't necessarily needed, but we thought, when you have that kind of money offered, I think that it made sense. So that's why the board agreed to progress it.
All right, Craig, thank you so much for addressing all these questions. And thank you, everyone, for sending in all these questions. Keep them coming, and I'll keep adding them to a list and reconnect with Craig in a few weeks, probably more near the end of September. Again, I've been chatting with Craig Nicol, founder and CEO of Graphene Manufacturing Group. Craig, thank you so much for your time today.
Thanks, Corey.